Okay, so imagine this, right? You're just cruising along, just enjoying the ride, and bam, you get into an accident,
Oh, no.
right? But wait, there's a twist.
Okay.
The other driver doesn't have insurance.
Ugh, that's like the worst case scenario, isn't it?
It is. That's why today we're doing a deep dive into uninsured motorist coverage.
Okay, yeah. Coverage, it's like a secret weapon that a lot of people don't even know they need.
Exactly. It's that financial safety net when you get hit by someone who's either driving around without insurance or they just don't have enough to cover the damages.
And you know what's crazy? It's way more common than you think.
Really? How so?
The stats show something like 1 in 8 drivers in the US is uninsured.
Wow, 1 in 8. That's a huge risk.
It is, and that's why it's something every driver should seriously consider.
So I guess that leads to the big question. Why? Why should people really think about getting this coverage?
Well, think about it, right? You can't control who you're sharing the road with.
True.
And unfortunately, the number of uninsured drivers is actually going up.
So the risk is increasing.
Exactly. And that's why having this coverage is like an extra layer of protection against that uncertainty.
It's like having a backup plan for the unexpected.
Exactly. And that peace of mind, knowing that you're protected, can be priceless, especially when you're dealing with the aftermath of an accident.
It's funny you say that because I remember when I was in college, I was so broke.
Oh, tell me about it. College budgets are tough.
I know, right? And back then I was thinking, what are the odds I'll actually need this?
Right.
It'll never happen to me. So I skipped it just to save a few bucks.
I think we've all been there.
But looking back, I realized how risky that was.
Yeah, it's easy to think it won't happen to me until it does.
Yeah, and if something had happened, I would have been in a real bind.
That's why I always say it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. Right.
So true. So, okay, let's get down to the basics. What exactly does uninsured motorist coverage cover?
Well, it's not just about medical bills, which is what a lot of people think. Yeah. It can also help with things like fixing your car if it gets damaged, or if you have to miss work because of the accident, it can even help with lost wages.
Huh. So it's more comprehensive than just medical bills.
Exactly. And in the worst case scenario, it can even help with funeral expenses.
Wow, I didn't realize that. So it really is about protecting you from potentially huge financial problems.
Exactly. Getting money from an uninsured driver can be a nightmare.
How so?
Well, I mean, imagine trying to get them to pay for everything out of pocket.
Right.
You could end up in a legal battle that takes forever.
Oh, wow. I hadn't even considered that.
Yeah. But with coverage, you get access to the funds you need much quicker, allowing you to focus on recovering, both physically and financially.
Makes sense. You don't want to be dealing with legal battles and paperwork when you're trying to heal from an accident.
Exactly. And speaking of paperwork, did you know that paralegals can actually play a big role in these cases?
Oh, yeah. I remember reading about that in one of the sources we looked at.
It's true. They're like the behind-the-scenes heroes, making sure all the legal stuff is taken care of.
So, what do they actually do?
Well, they can handle all sorts of things, like making sure all the documents are filed correctly. They might even write a demand letter. That's a fancy legal term for asking for payment.
Ah.
Or they might help summarize your medical records for the attorney.
So they're making the whole legal process less overwhelming.
Exactly. They're experts in their field and can really make a difference in how smoothly everything goes.
So basically, having coverage is like having a whole legal team on your side if something happens.
It's like having a secret weapon in your corner, ready to fight for you if the unthinkable happens.
And that peace of mind can make all the difference, right?
Absolutely. It's about having that confidence, knowing that you're not alone if something goes wrong.
Well, you've definitely given me a lot to think about.
I'm glad to hear that. I think it's a conversation that every driver should have with their insurance agent.
Definitely. And speaking of insurance agents, I think it's time to move on to our next topic.
Sounds good to me. Let's do it. And you know what else is interesting about this whole thing is it's not just about the actual money you might get.
Oh, what do you mean?
There's a psychological side to this too.
Yeah, how so?
Think about it. If you're already someone who gets anxious when they drive.
Oh, yeah, I could definitely relate to that.
Right. So knowing that you're protected no matter what can really ease your mind, right? It's like one less thing to worry about.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like having that extra layer of security.
Exactly. It frees you up to just focus on driving safely instead of playing what if in your head all the time.
Okay, I get it. Less stress, more focus on the road.
Exactly. So now that we've talked about peace of mind and getting your money faster, let's dive into some real life examples, where this coverage would really come in handy.
Okay, yeah, let's get specific. What are some situations where this would actually kick in?
All right, so picture this. You're stopped at a red light, just totally minding your own business, when suddenly
Oh, no.
you get rear-ended by some guy, and guess what? He doesn't have insurance.
That's awful.
Is right. But luckily, you have uninsured motorist coverage.
Okay, so that would cover, like, the damage to my car and any medical bills.
Exactly. It would even cover any wages you lose if you can't work because of the accident.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But what about something like a hit and run? Like, what if the other driver just takes off and you never find them?
Oh, that's a good one. Hit and runs are like the perfect example of why this coverage is so important. Otherwise, you're stuck footing the bill yourself, even though it wasn't your fault.
Wow, that would be rough. So even if you don't know who hit you, coverage still protects you.
Yep, it doesn't matter if the other driver is a ghost, you're still covered.
That's a huge relief. It's like knowing you're prepared for those totally unexpected things.
Exactly. It's about having that safety net no matter what. Oh, and here's another scenario.
Okay, what is it?
Let's say the other driver does have insurance,
Yeah.
but it turns out their coverage is super low.
Like, not enough to cover all the damage.
Exactly. They might have just the bare minimum required by law, but your bills end up being way higher than that limit.
So, like, what happens then?
That's where coverage comes in again. It basically makes up the difference, so you're not left paying a ton of money out of pocket.
Wow, this coverage really does fill in the gaps.
It does. It's all about making sure you're protected no matter what the situation is.
You know, it's funny. We hear so much about health insurance and homeowners insurance. But car insurance, especially stabbing, coverage doesn't get nearly as much attention.
You're so right, and it really should, because with so many uninsured drivers out there, it's not just about protecting your car, it's about protecting your whole financial life.
Okay, so you've officially convinced me that this is important, but let's be honest. How much does this peace of mind actually cost?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And the truth is, like most things with insurance, it depends. Oh, things like your driving record, the kind of car you have, even your zip code can affect the price.
So there's no, like, one-size-fits-all answer.
Not really, but here's the good news. It's usually way more affordable than people think.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, adding coverage to your policy usually just adds a little bit to your monthly payment. Think of it as a small investment for some major peace of mind.
Like skipping that daily latte to make sure you're covered if something crazy happens.
Exactly. It's all about prioritizing your financial security in the long run. The cost of not having this coverage could end up being way more than those few extra dollars a month.
That's true. You don't want to be caught off guard.
Exactly. And, if you are worried about the cost, don't be afraid to shop around and compare quotes from different companies. You might be surprised at what you find.
Yeah, it's worth doing a little research to find a policy that fits your budget and your needs.
Right. And your insurance agent can be a great resource too. Ask them all your questions. They're there to help you make the best choice.
Okay, so we've talked about costs, but let's go back to those paralegals for a second. You mentioned earlier that they can be really helpful in these cases.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, these cases can get really complicated.
How so?
Well, there can be a ton of paperwork involved, medical records, legal stuff. It can get messy.
I can imagine.
But that's where the paralegals come in. They're like the masters of organization, making sure everything is in order and filed correctly.
So they're like the glue that holds the whole legal team together.
Exactly. They might even help gather evidence or write up legal documents. Their attention to detail can really make a difference in the outcome of your case.
It's like having an extra set of eyes, making sure everything is done right.
Right. So yeah, they're a crucial part of the process. Speaking of the process, are there any downsides to having uninsured motorist coverage?
That's a good question, are there?
Well, honestly, the biggest downside is probably the extra costs, like we talked about earlier.
Right.
Adding this coverage will increase your monthly premiums, but for most people, the benefits far outweigh that extra cost.
Yeah. It's like that classic saying, better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it.
Exactly. Imagine if you get into an accident with an uninsured driver and you don't have this coverage, you could end up wiping out your savings or even going into debt.
Yeah, that's a scary thought.
It is. It's about being smart and protecting your financial future. Better safe than sorry, right?
Definitely. It's like an investment in your peace of mind.
Exactly. And, this whole conversation has really gotten me thinking about how we view risk and security, How so?
Well, in the past, people might have felt more secure knowing they had a strong community to rely on if times got tough.
Yeah, like a support system.
Exactly. But these days, we're often more isolated, right? So having insurance like coverage
Yeah.
can almost provide that same sense of support and security. That's interesting. It's like insurance has become a modern-day safety net in a way.
Exactly. It's not just about the financial aspect. It's about knowing that you're not alone if something bad happens.
Yeah, it's about that feeling of protection, knowing that someone has your back, even if it's an insurance company.
Right. And that feeling of security can be really powerful. It's like
That,
it frees up your mind to focus on the things that matter most.
that's a great point. It's like taking a weight off your shoulders and allowing you to live more fully.
Exactly. It's about feeling empowered and in control, even when things feel uncertain.
I like that. It's about taking charge of your own well-being, both financially and emotionally.
Right. And that's really what this whole conversation has been about, isn't it? It's about giving people the information they need to make smart choices about their own lives and their own security.
Absolutely. It's about empowering people to take control of their own future and create a sense of safety and resilience in a world that can often feel unpredictable and chaotic.
Well said. And you know what else I find fascinating about this topic?
What's that?
It's how our perception of risk and security has really evolved over time.
Oh, how so?
Well, think about it, right? In the past, people might have felt a lot more secure knowing they had a strong community to rely on, if things got tough.
Right, like a tight-knit neighborhood or extended family?
Exactly. But in today's world, things are different. We're often more isolated and mobile.
True, we move around more. Families are spread out.
Yeah. So in a way, insurance like coverage has become a modern day safety net. It fills that void that's left by those declining community support systems.
That's a really interesting perspective. It's like insurance is stepping in to provide that sense of security that people used to find in their communities.
Exactly. And it highlights how insurance has become more than just a financial tool. It's also about emotional and psychological well-being.
It's about having that peace of mind, knowing that you're not alone when something goes wrong.
Right. And that's a powerful thing. It's about adapting to the changing times and finding new ways to create a sense of security and resilience in our lives.
It's like we're constantly evolving our strategies for navigating the world and creating a sense of safety and stability.
Exactly. And coverage is a perfect example of that adaptation. It's a modern solution to a problem that's unfortunately becoming more and more common.
It's about taking control of the things we can control in an increasingly uncertain world.
Well said. And that feeling of control can be incredibly empowering.
Absolutely. It's about shifting our focus from fear and anxiety to preparedness and resilience.
That's a great way to put it. It's about taking proactive steps to protect ourselves and our loved ones rather than just hoping for the best.
It's about being informed, making informed decisions, and creating a safety net that can support us through life's unexpected challenges.
Exactly. And that's what this whole deep dive has been about, right? It's about empowering our listeners with the knowledge and insights they need to make the best decisions for themselves and their families.
Absolutely. It's about giving people the tools they need to navigate the complexities of the world and create a sense of security and well-being in their lives.
Well said. And, speaking of well-being, I think it's important to touch on the psychological benefits of having this coverage again.
Oh, yeah, definitely. We talked about it earlier, but I think it's worth revisiting.
Absolutely. For a lot of people, driving can be a really stressful experience.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Especially with all the crazy drivers out there.
Right. And for those who already struggle with anxiety, those anxieties can get even worse behind the wheel.
It's like there's this constant low-level worry in the back of your mind.
Exactly. And that worry can really take a toll on you, both mentally and physically. It can affect your sleep, your focus, your overall health.
It's like carrying around a weight on your shoulders.
That's a great way to put it. And that's where coverage can really make a difference.
Yeah.
By providing that financial safety net, it takes away one of the biggest sources of worry associated with driving.
So it's like you can finally relax a little and enjoy the ride.
Exactly. It's about shifting your mindset from fear to confidence, knowing that you're prepared for whatever comes your way.
It's about feeling empowered rather than helpless.
Right. And that shift in perspective can have ripple effects throughout your life. It can affect your mood, your relationships, your overall sense of well-being.
It's like creating a sense of inner peace that extends beyond the road.
Exactly. And that inner peace is priceless.
Absolutely. It's about prioritizing your well-being in every aspect of your life.
It's funny. We often try to separate different parts of our lives, like our finances, our emotions, our physical health. But in reality, it's all interconnected.
That's so true. It's all part of the same system.
Right. And coverage is a great example of how a simple financial decision can have a huge impact on your overall well-being.
It's a reminder that taking care of ourselves holistically means considering all those aspects, including our sense of security and peace of mind.
Absolutely. And when we do that, we create a foundation of resilience that can help us through anything life throws our way.
It's about building a life that feels safe, secure, and empowering.
Exactly. And that's a life worth striving for.
As we talk about all this, I can't help but think about the ethical side of things, too.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more about what you're thinking.
Well, we've talked about how many uninsured drivers are out there, and while having M coverage protects us as individuals, it doesn't really solve the bigger societal problem, right?
You're right. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a much deeper wound.
Exactly. And it makes me wonder about our responsibility as individuals and as a society. Like, how do we balance protecting ourselves with advocating for policies that promote greater safety and responsibility for everyone on the road?
That's a really important question, and I think it gets to the heart of what we've been talking about today. It's about recognizing that we're all part of this larger system and our choices and actions have an impact on others.
It's about fostering a culture of shared responsibility, where we all feel accountable for creating safer roads for everyone.
Absolutely, and that responsibility goes beyond just having insurance ourselves. It's about supporting policies and initiatives that encourage or even mandate insurance coverage for all drivers.
Yeah, it's about pushing for systemic change rather than just accepting the status quo.
Exactly. It's about understanding that true security comes from collective action. It's about working together to create a safer and more responsible driving environment for everyone.
It's like we're all in the same boat, and we need to work together to keep it afloat.
That's a great analogy. It's about recognizing that our individual well-being is tied to the well-being of the whole.
And that's a powerful message. It's a reminder that we're all connected and our choices have ripple effects that extend far beyond ourselves.
Absolutely. It's about taking ownership of our actions and recognizing that we have a responsibility to create a better world for ourselves and for future generations.
It's about shifting our mindset from me to we, from individual self-interest to collective well-being.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It's about recognizing that true security and happiness come from connection, from collaboration, from caring for each other.
Well said. And, as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I'm really struck by how this seemingly simple insurance product has led us to these much broader conversations about responsibility, security, and our interconnectedness as a society.
I know, right? It's amazing how exploring one topic can open up so many other doors and lead us to these deeper reflections on who we are and how we want to live in the world.
It's a reminder that everything is connected.
Yeah.
Our personal choices, our financial decisions, our social structures, our values, it's all interwoven.
Absolutely. And understanding those connections can be really empowering. It gives us a sense of agency, a feeling that we can actually make a difference.
Right. It's not about feeling overwhelmed by the complexity of the world. It's about recognizing our role within that complexity
Yeah.
and choosing to act in ways that align with our values and create positive change.
Well said. And that's a message I think we can all take with us as we move forward. It's a message of hope, of resilience, of the transformative power of individual and collective action.
It's inspiring to think about all the possibilities that exist when we tap into that power and work together to create a better world for ourselves and for generations to come.
I completely agree. It's about embracing that potential, that collective energy, and channeling it towards creating a future where everyone feels safe, valued, and empowered to thrive.
And it starts with each of us, making conscious choices, taking responsibility for our actions, and advocating for policies that promote greater safety, equity, and well-being for all.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that we're not just individuals navigating the world on our own. We're part of this larger ecosystem, and our actions have ripple effects that impact others.
It's about embracing that interconnectedness, that sense of shared responsibility, and using it as a catalyst for positive change.
It's about recognizing that true security and well-being come not from isolating ourselves and protecting our own interests, but from coming together, supporting each other, and working towards a common goal.
It's about building bridges, fostering empathy, and creating a world where everyone feels safe, valued, and empowered.
Well said. It's about shifting our focus from me to we, from competition to collaboration, from fear to love.
And that shift in perspective, that change in consciousness, is what will ultimately create a more just equitable and compassionate world for everyone.
It's a beautiful vision, and one that I believe is within our reach. It starts with each of us making conscious choices, big and small, that align with our values and contribute to the greater good.
It's about recognizing that we all have a role to play in creating the world we want to see, and that even seemingly small actions can have a ripple effect that extends far beyond ourselves.
Absolutely. It's about embracing our interconnectedness, celebrating our diversity, and working together to build a future where everyone has the opportunity to thrive.
So as we move towards wrapping up this deep dive into coverage, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought-provoking question.
I'm all ears.
Knowing what we've discussed today about the financial, emotional, and ethical dimensions of this topic, what steps can you take in your own life to promote greater safety responsibility and compassion on the road and in your community? What actions, big or small, can you take to contribute to a world where everyone feels protected, respected, and valued?
That's a powerful question, and one that I hope our listeners will take to heart. It's a call to action to move beyond simply being informed to actually embodying the values we've discussed today.
It's about translating knowledge into action, transforming awareness into change.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that we're not just passive observers, we're active participants in shaping the world around us.
And that recognition, that sense of agency is incredibly empowering.
It certainly is. It's the spark that ignites change, the fuel that propels us forward.
So to our listeners, I encourage you to embrace that power, to step into your role as agents of change, and to make conscious choices that align with your values and contribute to a better world.
And remember, we're all in this together. Let's support each other, inspire each other, and work together to create a future where everyone has the opportunity to thrive.
Well said. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and keep making a difference.
It's been a pleasure. And remember, the journey towards a better world starts with each of us.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
We start talking about this one specific type of insurance, and now we're talking about like changing the whole world.
I know, right? But that's what I love about these deep dives. You never know where they'll lead.
It's true. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion.
Exactly. And I think that's a really important takeaway for our listeners today. Understanding uninsured motorist coverage isn't just about like checking a box on your policy. It's about seeing the bigger picture.
Right. It's about understanding how our choices fit into this larger system.
Exactly. And that by making informed decisions, we can actually contribute to creating a safer and more just world for everyone.
Okay, so let's bring it back to earth for a second. For those listening who are thinking, all right, I'm convinced I need this coverage. What's the best way to actually add it to their policy?
Honestly, the easiest way is to just call up your insurance agent.
They can walk you through it.
Yeah, exactly. They can explain all the different options and help you figure out what makes sense for you and your budget.
And don't be afraid to ask questions, right?
Oh, absolutely. No such thing as a dumb question when it comes to your protection.
Exactly. Your insurance agent is there to help you, so use them as a resource.
Right. The more you know, the better decisions you can make.
So to wrap things up, I have one final question for our listeners out there.
Okay, shoot.
Knowing everything we've talked about today, the financial benefits, that peace of mind, even those big ethical questions, what's one thing you're going to do differently? Big or small, what action are you going to take to make a positive impact when it comes to safety and responsibility on the road?
That's a great question. For me, I think I'm going to start talking to my friends and family more about coverage.
Oh, I like that. Spreading the word.
Yeah, a lot of people just don't know about it, and I think raising awareness is a huge step towards creating a safer environment for everyone.
It's like that saying, knowledge is power.
Exactly. And the more people who know about this, the better.
I love it. Well, on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive.
Wow, time flies when you're having fun.
That's for sure. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey today. We hope you learned something new and feel empowered to make some positive changes in your own lives.
It's been a pleasure chatting with you. And remember, even small actions can create big ripples.
Drive safe, everyone, and we'll catch you on our next deep dive.
See you then.